The Serpent Speaketh, audiobook, part 6. Psychiatrist's office. Hi, Doc.
Hi, Daryl. So what's going on in your world, Daryl?
I don't know. Not much.
Not really in the talking mood today, are you?
Really not much to say. I've given up on it for now, to tell the truth.
Too much pressure?
Yeah. I guess it wasn't worth it.
No worries. So let's talk about Clyde then.
Let's not.
Really? But you always...
Not today.
Okay. But why this sudden change, do you think? You always like talking about him and how close you are and were. Him and you and your father.
I don't know. Just, there's not much more to say anymore.
Dreams of yesterday die hard.
Yeah, they do, Doc.
Is Clyde talking to you?
I don't want to talk about it.
But
I don't want to talk about it.
sorry, Daryl.
Just give me my pills, Doc. June 4th, 2012. I wake up early in the morning, covered in sweat. I notice the full moon in the sky, and besides the sound of Frank snoring, there is not a sound in the house. I look over at Frank. I want to feel thankful for all he has done, but I find myself not trusting him as he lays there. That's ridiculous, I tell myself quietly, and I creep downstairs where I can watch TV quietly until sunrise. I turn the TV on, then turn it off again when I realize I don't want to watch TV. I gently push the door open to go outside. I breathe in the air and choke, looking back to make sure that Frank did not hear me and is not following me. I sigh with a sense of relief. I begin to walk down the path to the woods, through the garden, and as I do, the smell of Marlboro menthols invades my nostril cavity. I start to cough. "Hello, Cleo," I say to the air. "Hello, Daryl," she says from the shadows behind me. "Can I have a puff?" I ask her. I thought you didn't smoke. Something about having trouble breathing. I shrug and she hands me the cigarette. I take a puff and cough and wheeze even more, then take another puff and sigh. My head feels a little light and my breath becomes sharp, but I feel focused. "Thanks," I say. "I needed that." "You need more than that, I'd reckon," she says, poking me in the side. "Looks like you can't sleep." I turn away from her and keep walking into the garden. "I'll get by," I tell her. "It's Frank, isn't it?" Cleo asks. My mind is playing tricks on me. Even the pills aren't helping. She laughs. "Is that right?" "You should trust what your mind tells you," she says. "Says the figment of my imagination," I say. She laughs. "Even fictional things can teach you something," she says. "Do you want to know how I became who I am?" "No," I say. I just want to go back to sleep. But half of me is curious, and so I stand there hoping she will keep talking. "I became who I am by not shutting the universe out, by becoming greater than myself." It's not so easy, I say. "You just say that because you're a coward, or maybe you're convinced that you're the good monk in this story." "The good monk?" I ask. "This monk used to come by and visit my farm. I'd always be working outside when he'd come, dusting the road in front of him like always." "A Jainist?" I asked. She shrugged. "It's not important. Anyway, I didn't mind him. I figured, let others do what they want to do. I'll do what I want to do. If they want to be holy, let them be. But this guy, he wasn't content to just live his life. He had to come preaching to me, too." "I'm not preaching to you," I tell Cleo. "You can do whatever you want." Right, she said. "Anyway, he comes up and starts telling me I've been a sinner, tells me how he's been meditating and making himself pure so that he can teach people. He asked for some food so that I could teach him too." "Did you give him any?" I asked. "Not only did I not give him any," Cleo said, "but I gave him a big old glass of rum and coke. He spit it out when he tasted the alcohol. Said alcohol was the devil. You should have just let him go." I could have, she said, but I really do believe in just letting people be because I figure they have a right to be here too. But there's a limit, right? Right. We're all responsible and affect one another, and we all have to take responsibility for our lives. Are you saying I should take responsibility with Frank? He's just going to keep walking on you. You think you know everything, I say. She laughs. As far as you're concerned, I do, she said, and handed me her bottle of rum and coke. I stare at it. Are you afraid I'm going to poison you? She asks. I scoff. Of course not, I say. I just don't want to drink. Why not? She asks. I guess I'm afraid of losing control. I want to control my destiny. And how is that working for you? Feel in control of your destiny? I don't say anything. Anyway, to finish up my story, the monk runs out of there, leaving the little money he had, and I never heard from him again. That money was good for a few bottles of rum, you know. I'm missing the moral of the story, I say, beginning to walk back to the house. You control your own destiny, she says. How? I ask. You'll have to figure that out by yourself, but it won't hurt to drink a little more with me, she said.
June 4th, 2012. The banging of pots shakes me from my slumber. A splitting headache anchors me to my bed. I'm hungover, but I'm not about to let Frank know that. Frank. I really don't want to deal with him right now. I mope downstairs, trying to walk without swaying while braving the light that feels 2 degrees too bright. Bacon and eggs are on the stove, and Frank seems more cheerful than I have ever seen him, asking me how I slept and if I wanted butter with my toast. I asked him for some OJ, and he obliged, saying, "You really impressed me yesterday. You're a hard worker." I told him I didn't remember what I did, but thank you. Today, we've got 2 more big fields to mow, and if you do good, maybe something is in it for you. Thanks, I say once again. He looks at his watch and tells me to hurry up. I nod, but I'm not really listening because I can feel a pressure building up inside my head. He heads out to the truck, telling me to follow him. I try telling him that I'm not feeling too great, but he just laughs, calling me a faker, and pulls my chair out to get me going. I dutifully chug the rest of my OJ and follow him out to the truck, and the day passes slowly, mowing grass and moving mulch. I'm not sure why, where, or when it happens, but somewhere along the line Frank becomes less annoying. Perhaps it was because the hangover wore off, or perhaps it was because Frank wasn't yelling at me every 6 minutes, like yesterday. I'm not sure. But something seems to have changed. I feel for the first time in a long time that things could really work out. I begin to feel that I can do this. I can get used to being around Frank. Frank treats us both to McDonald's because he said we worked hard. We don't talk about much over our Big Macs at dinner, but every now and then we glance up and smile, and I'm beginning to wonder if maybe summer was right, and this all is good for me. We get home and I take a shower. I tell Frank I want to cook dinner tomorrow night. He seems positively overjoyed at my decision, and tells me that taking initiative is a good sign. I put some black beans in a pot with water to soak and cover the lid in preparation for the next day. Then I tell Frank I'm going to sleep. We both say goodnight and I retire to my room. I'm not too surprised when Cleo appears by the window around midnight. She comes in impatiently, saying she's hungry. I tell her that she can wait, that I don't think I'll be needing her help, and that if I'm patient, things will work out. She laughs at my confidence, saying, "You've had a good day, but things aren't going to just magically sort themselves out." "I think they might," I say quite loudly before realizing myself, covering my mouth and running after her. She glares at me when she sees me following her. "Why are you following me? You said you don't need me, and I definitely don't need you," she says. "You forgot that unlike you, I am a survivor." "I'm a survivor too," I say. "You're a sheep," she says, making a bah, bah noise. It feels good. I'm not an outsider anymore. So the barometer of success is how good you feel, she says, pushing through the brambles in the darkness. I think so, I say, following her. You know, the road to a better garden, a better life isn't always a straight path. There's going to be twists and turns, and in the beginning it's going to look like hell. No one knows the sacrifices that one has to make to really live in this world, she says. But if you're happy just being a sheep, then yay for you. I'm happy, I tell her. Then why are you following me? I stop, realizing how ridiculous I must look. My arms are cut up pretty bad. She senses I've stopped, so she turns around. One day, when my daughter Iris was 6, her puppy got in the garden. He was a right menace, but she loved him. She didn't realize that if we didn't have food, we didn't eat. She didn't take me seriously. Anyway, one day, the pup, whose name is Pip, he got caught in the trap, and hearing him yelp, she came outside and yelled to me, "Mommy, Mommy, set him free, set him free." I heard her and followed her to see Pip whimpering in the trap. I watched as she fed him a doggy bone, and he looked at me with the saddest eyes. But he was trapped and bleeding badly. I knew there was a chance I could save him, but the dog would tear up our garden if I set him free. He was in a lot of pain, and in those days, me and Iris were half starving. It wasn't a hard decision. I went back in the house and got the gun. Iris never forgave me for killing the pup, but we survived that year and the next 25. What is the point of these stories you tell me? I ask. That's a good question, she said. It's obvious to me that you're not going to take any of my advice. Anyway. Your advice? I ask. You need to take the next step, Daryl. Not live in fear. You need to do things that are difficult. But all you do is want to sit with your puppy and pretend that you can live without making sacrifices. Sit and pretend he isn't the one ruining the garden. I look at her stupidly. Do I have to spell it out for you? She asked. I think you do, I said. Frank has to go.